everyone. Welcome to the Knitting Turnpike. Welcome to the Knitting Turnpike. My name is Gina Pike. I'm so happy that you're here with me today. For those of you who may be new to my channel, watching me for the first time, I'm so happy that you're stopping by and spending time with us today. Today we're going to be talking about the Romi Hill Mystery Knit Along for 2022. This is her 10th annual Mystery Knit Along. It is a circular shaped shawl. I've done her knit-alongs for the last 7 years, and she usually rotates between shapes. Like she'll do a triangular shawl, like this was 2018. I think this is called Spring Forward. It's one of my favorites. I actually made 2 of these. I came back after the knit-along and made another one because I gave the first one to a friend of mine. But she does triangular and then circular ones. And in the pre-clue, I showed you a view of some of the ones I've made throughout the last 7 years. But this year, it was supposed to be triangular, because last year was circular. But her favorite shape is a half circle, so we're doing another circular shaped shawl since this is the 10th annual, and it's a little bit more special. Now, this is called Time Heals. If you know a little bit more about her mystery knit-alongs, she, on the clue, she likes to do these little poems. This one says, I think we already know the name. But she does these little poems that kind of give you a clue into what the name is going to be. But I'm still going to read them for tradition. It's tradition at this point after 10 years. The poem says, a moment passes and then another, a row added to a row. And she builds upon that with every clue. There's going to be 5 clues. This started on 4/22/22. It's going to be going until May the 20th, 22. So if you're watching this video, after you see now I'm going to be showing the first clue, so spoiler alert, if you do not want to see that part, if you want to keep it a mystery, I will tell you right before I show them, and you can just stop the video, because I don't want to spoil the mystery. Some people really enjoy keeping it a mystery, not knowing what you're knitting. I kind of like to see what I'm knitting ahead of the time. Now, I didn't get to see what this looked like ahead of the time. But I'm one of those people that kind of like to get a glimpse into where I'm going. But, if you're not, I will warn you right before I show them. But this video is about that, so just FYI. But before we get there, I just wanted to let you know that I will be showing a couple of the stitches as well. We'll get into that. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm making 2 this year. I did this 2 years ago. I made 2. I think it was... I'm trying to remember the name of the shawl. I always do the year and I forget the names of them. But I made 2 and I was like, I will never do that again. It was so much knitting. My finger even had a callus on it from knitting so much. But guess what? This year I was pulling my yarns out, getting so excited. I look forward to this mystery knit along. This one is my favorite one every year. And so I was pulling out all my little yarn combos. Now, she likes to do 2 colors for her mystery knit-alongs. So if you're looking to knit this, you need to pick 2 colors. One of them can be lightly speckled, and the other one can be more tonal. Again, you're going to be knitting lace. So when you're knitting lace, you do not want to get highly variegated yarns that are going to compete with the lace work. Because it'll be kind of defeating the purpose if you're knitting this with this beautiful yarn and you can't even really see the lace. So I'm going to show you my yarns. I'm using a kit from Amanda Hope yarns, and this is her Aussie Extra Fine Merino. I'm using a color, you had me at Grello and Steel, so it's yellow and gray. You're going to see it in a minute, or maybe I'll pop in a picture. And the other yarn I got is a kit from that Romi exclusively helped put together with a Verb for Keeping Warm out of California. This one is her Rumor yarn base, which is a merino silk blend. And I got the colors Pendulce, which is the lighter speckled yarn. And then the darker pink is called Lady Extravaganza. She has 2 other kits that she sold as well. I think the kits are all sold out by now. You kind of have to be aware of those like a month before. And they also sell those at Stitches West when that happens in California. And they sell out pretty quickly. This year I was actually really pleased to see that they had, usually they only have like 20, but they had like 100 of each colorway available online, which I thought was really great. So that gave a lot more people that can't, that aren't in California and can't go to Stitches West, an opportunity to buy a kit. And with the kit, you get the yarn, you get a pre-clue, which is how I was able to do the pre-clue last week, and you get a project bag. I showed all this. You get a little project bag. It's got Romi's name on there, designs by Romi, and you also get this really beautiful shawl pin that I showed. I'll open it up and show it real quick since we're talking about it. This is designed by Romi. She's done jewelry before, and still does, and she designs these every year specifically for this mystery knit along and for these kits. This is the shawl pin she designed for this year. Kind of reminds me of a music note, and every year they look different. I have one from a couple of years ago. I'll try to find it, take a picture, and insert it here. And it's really nice to have a shawl pin because sometimes you do need it, a little clasp there to hold it in place. All right, so let's, please forgive me for looking at my notes. I want to make sure I don't forget something, and I get on a tangent and I will totally forget to mention something. So let's make sure that I stay on track. Now, this all started with a garter stitch tab cast on. Which are awesome. I'm going to show you how to do a garter stitch tab cast on, how I did it for this shawl at the very end. I like to do tutorials for certain projects at the end as we go along. I put them at the end in case some of my people here are more into crochet. They don't really want to see the knitting, so you can just stop the video when it gets to that point. But if you want to watch it, they'll be at the end, and I'll show you how to do a garter stitch tab cast on, how I did it for this shawl. And I'm also going to show you 2 other new stitches. Now the rest of the stitches for this clue and this shawl are pretty self-explanatory. Well, the ones I've already done tutorials for, and these are in my tutorial playlist called Knitting Stitches. If you go to my playlist section, you'll see a section called Knitting Stitches, and you can kind of dig through. But let me just say, with that being said, next week I'm going to be releasing a tutorial video that's going to have all of these stitches in there as well, and then I'm going to release those individually so that they'll be easier to find. And when I release those next week individually, I will be linking them back, and I will link them throughout the rest of the clues, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now these stitches that I'm going to be talking about are the knit stitch, the purl stitch. I'm mentioning these here so that you can evaluate if you already know how to do these stitches. You might want to really jump in and knit this with us. I think people sometimes see lace and they think, oh, I can't do lace. But think about these stitches. None of these are really hard. They're all built upon the knit and the purl stitch. And I really think you can do it. I really do. It's an advanced beginner shawl. So if you're a beginner and you want to challenge yourself a little bit, jump in and knit this along with us. Let me finish with the stitches, and I want to say something about the pattern purchase. All of these stitches, as I get the videos posted, I will link them down in the description box below. But again, knit stitch, purl stitch, knit 2 together, knit 3 together. Now that's a new stitch I haven't shown, but I do have a video tutorial I'm going to show at the end of this video, and then it will be released on my website or on the YouTube channel here. And then there's a new stitch called the SK3, which is similar to an SSK, but you do it with 3 stitches. I have a tutorial for that at the end of this video. So those are the 2 new stitches, along with the garter stitch tab cast on, that I'll be showing in this video. Then there's the knit through the back loop, passing your slip stitched over. You have a slip, slip, knit stitch. You have a slip, stitch, knit 2 together, pass that slip stitch over. That's where that pass the slip stitch over comes into play. A knit front and back, and then a knit 2 together. So those are all the stitches that are involved in the shawl. And the shawl is for sale on Ravelry. It is US $15. However, in Romi's description, if you read the description, she has some codes there that makes the pricing more affordable. You know, she kind of does more about what you can afford. So there's, I think, 3 different price points that'll take the price of the shawl down to like $7 and something. I should have looked at this a little bit closer before I started this camera. But I'll try to write it over my face, the cost of the final clue. So that makes it a lot more affordable. And please don't be shy to use those. You know what your finances are. You know what you can afford. So use the one that works best for you if you want to knit this shawl. I think what I'm going to do is, I'm knitting 2. I'm going to show you both of my shawls. I'm going to walk you through a little bit of it, and then we'll go into the stitch tutorial. I don't want to make this too long. These are just clue updates, so they are not meant to be too long because it's just, you know, a one clue. There was 2 charts. I will say this is a charted pattern. But it also has the text. She likes to do both. On the chart, it is a what you see is what you knit. So if you are familiar with charts, what you see is what you knit is the best kind, the easiest kind of chart to do. So that means when you look at the symbol, that's what you do. There are some charts for knitting where, like, if you are on a wrong side row, you have to do an opposite. You do have to do a different stitch of what the symbol shows. Like if you see like usually a blank square is a knit stitch, but if you're on the wrong side row, that might mean a purl stitch. But this is not like that. This is what you see is what you knit. So that makes it even a little bit easier to do because you look at the square, it says what it is, you do it. But you can also double check yourself because she has the text right here down below the chart. So she has a chart and she has the text. So you can double check yourself, and that also helps you learn how to read charts. And I will say I didn't learn how to read charts. I've only been knitting, for those of you who are new here, I've only been knitting since 2014. I only really learned how to do charts a couple of years ago, but since I've learned how to do charts, my knitting has improved tremendously. I've made a lot less mistakes. I knit a lot faster because I'm making a lot less mistakes. It just helps you see how things are supposed to line up better. So I know that if I'm supposed to be knitting this stitch into a yarn over, for example, and I'm not, I have a mistake, and I stop right then and evaluate what I've done wrong instead of getting to the end of a row and figuring out I'm 2 stitches off or a stitch off and then having to undo and figure out where I'm at. It kind of helps you pinpoint exactly where you are. So that if that is something you're not doing, I challenge you to start looking at the charts a little bit more, learning how to incorporate them. One of the things she is doing this year, some of her charts do not show the wrong side row. The wrong side row is kind of the same thing. You're just kind of purling back through to get to the other side. So that makes it a little bit easier too. There is not lace knitting on the wrong side. Some patterns will have lace knitting on both sides, which can be really complicated, especially when you're trying to maybe repair a drop stitch. But this is just purling on the wrong side, so it makes it even a little bit more fun and easier when you are on a wrong side. So I just thought, hope that that helps you decide if maybe you want to knit this along with me. I do have one person I know knitting this along with me. I will be sharing her project at the end, right before the stitches tutorial. I'm so excited. She emailed me her start. I'm so excited to share this, and this is a tiggrgirl, Vannessa. Thank you for sending that with me, and I look forward to sharing your project here in a second. I'm going to talk about mine. I have mine pinned out. I thought instead of holding them up and fighting that, it might be easier just to turn my camera around and show you these. And hopefully my hands won't shake too bad. So let's do that. Now this is a spoiler. So I'm about to show the shawls. So you may want to, if you don't want to see them and want to keep this a mystery, now's the time to stop the video. Alright, so here is my first, let me move my arm here. Here is my first shawl. This one is the one that's being knit with Amanda Hope yarn. This is You Had Me at Grello, which is my color 1, a slightly speckled yellow-gray yarn. And this is my color 2, which is steel. Now this is a plied yarn, so it is knitting differently than the other one. You can see it's plied. not single. The other one, I'm going to show that in a minute, is single. But so it's applied yarn. This is how it is knitting up. This is Aussie Extra Fine Merino Wool 4-ply. It's a wonderful yarn. And you can see this is where you started with the garter stitch tab cast on. It's 3 stitches. You start with 3 stitches. You can see right there. I like to keep the pin in just so I can find, see there's 1, 2, 3. That's where it starts. And you can see how the garter stitch edging builds upon it, and it becomes so seamless that you can't even tell where you really started. And then it just goes right into some lace with some yarn overs and building it, and you have increases on the edges, which is how the shawl is growing and getting bigger. And I showed through the pre-clue was through here, and look how it finished up in the chart B of clue 1. It became these beautiful like a flower here. I love how she finished up these edges, and this was some of the new stitches that I'm going to be showing you with this SK3 and the knit 3 together, and then finishing it off at the top with a slip knit 2 past a slip stitch over to make that beautiful point. And then she has all this beautiful lace coming in here, and then it looks like, you know, maybe, you know, that's more petal building or leaves, and then it looks like more stuff is coming in here below this. This is I just love this design so much already, and I'm so happy that I'm making 2 of these. It really has been so much fun knitting this over the weekend. Okay, so that is my first shawl, and this is my second one. These are the colors from, this is the Verb for Keeping Warm kit that Romi helped put together. This is Pen Dulce. This is Lady Extravaganza. Rumor is a single ply yarn, so it's not plied, it's just a single thread. It's merino silk. It's very soft. It's really beautiful colors. I've never used this peachy color before, but I really love it. And that's the label for it if you want to check it out. I'll link their website down below. But this is how this clue is looking in this yarn. And again, this first clue is just knit in the color 1. She'll bring in the color 2, probably, I don't know, we'll have to just wait and see. I don't know what she's gonna do. But as you can see, here's my garter stitch tab cast on here. It's where it started. You can see this was my tail. I still got to kind of weave in. And then it just starts again with the lace, extending the garter stitch tab, growing bigger. This was through where pre-clue was. And then here's the points on this. Both yarns are knitting up really beautifully. I'm using a US 4 knitting needle, and that was what was recommended for the pattern. I found that with her shawls, I can usually use what is recommended, and those are the extra lace panels. You know, they look a little bit lacier to me in this yarn than maybe in this yarn, but I just have these lightly pinned out. So there is a difference in the two because of the single ply versus 4-ply, but I think they're so beautiful, and this is such a beautiful yarn, and it is really soft. So I'm excited. I mean, I actually am glad that I'm using this because I like the differences in it. I like seeing how something knits up in different colors, different weights of yarn, etc. So that's clue 1 in A Verb for Keeping Warm, and this is clue 1 in Amanda Hope. Beautiful. Those are both of them. Let's see if I can do this back on my ottoman. Sorry, I should have pinned them a little bit better side by side. But they're both really knitting up to be about the same size. I kind of interposed one over the other. They're kind of about the same size right now, which is good. All right. Now we're going to talk a little bit about if you are going to jump in and knit this along with me, and you want to send your pictures to me. My email is down below in the description. You're welcome to email me. You get welcome to ask me questions down in the comments, or email me questions if you have any questions with this. There is a Ravelry group where you can also ask more detailed questions as well. They have great response, great support. I'll try to link that as well down below. but it is also in the pattern. And now I want to share, since I mentioned this in the pre-clue, I had one person that is, I know, that is knitting this with me, and this is Vannessa. She is tiggrgirl on Ravelry, and she is she sent me her pre-clue, her shawl start. Now she is using this, and the other thing I want to say, this is her first Romi mystery knit along, and I'm so excited. I think she's going to really love it. And I know the first time, I remember back when I first knit my first Romi, and I just got bit by the lace bug and bit by the Romi Hill bug, because I just really love all of her designs. And that was the other thing, was like, some people are like, how can you knit two? And it's like, you can, when you trust the designer and you've made so many of their designs that you know that you're just going to like it. So I wouldn't do two for just anybody. But Vannessa is using these, and in this gorgeous, I love how these yarns she picked. I love the pinks. She's used the lighter colors, her colored one with the pops of pink, and this is Arkansas Yarn Company. This yarn is their Yummy Sparkle Base, and it's called My First Love. Isn't that beautiful? Makes me want to go shopping on their website. And then the second yarn, the pink yarn, is the Malabrigo sock yarn. It's in 857, called Light of Love. Do you see a theme here? The first one's My First Love. The second one's Light of Love. I love that. It's so cool. So anyway, thank you so much, Vannessa, for sharing your start with us. I look forward to sharing more of your work with us as you share with me. And again, if you want to want me to share your projects here on my clue videos, email me. I will share them. I'm happy to share them. And anyway, I think now we're ready to do the tutorial part. So if that is something that doesn't interest you, thank you so much for spending time with me, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. But let's get on to the tutorials now. The first thing I'm going to show you is the garter stitch tab cast on. This is how I did it and how I do it, and I hope you'll enjoy it. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do a garter stitch tab cast on. I'm working on the Romi Hill Mystery Shawl for 2022. This is Time Heals. I got my working yarn. I am going to go ahead and just do a slip knot, a small slip knot. Garter stitch tab cast on are awesome in that they're so seamless. It's hard to see where they start because they just blend with the end up blending in with the edging. So okay, you got your tab. You need 3 stitches total. You're going to do a backwards loop cast on, which is you just take your working yarn, twist it like this, pull it gently like that. That's 1, and then you need 1 more, and that's 3. Okay, so you got your stitches there. I'm going to grab one of these pins like this, and this coilless pin, and I'm going to put it through these stitches to help me find them when I get to this part where I have to pick them up. So I'm just going to put them through here like this. Oops. Alright, so now we've got to knit 5 rows back and forth, and you're going to, as you knit these stitches, you're just going to knit them. You're going to knit each one of these stitches through the back loop. So like this, you're going to go through the back loop like that. Through the back loop. Through the back loop. So that's the first row. And as you're knitting these, so you're creating these garter stitch ridges here that you're going to use to pick up stitches later on. These right here. It'll be easier to see once we knit a few more rows. That's just the first row. So you do the second row the same way. Knit those 3 stitches through the back loop and do that for 5 rows, but for, it just really, this isn't the only way you can do it. I've done shawls where I've done 2 stitches for 7 rows, 3 stitches for 15 rows. It just depends on the designer and the pattern. I'm just showing you how this one is starting out, but they can all start out a little bit differently with fewer stitches or more rows. It just depends on what the designer wants. That was 2. Okay, once you do the 5th time, you're going to take your work, and you can see how you have those garter ridges, those lines across your knitting. That's where you're going to be picking up stitches for your knitting. So you're going to turn your work 90 degrees, and you should have 3 of those to pick up stitches on. You may have to look on the back, but here's 1, 2, and I'm going to use that one as my 3rd one, and then you're going to turn your work and pick up in those stitches, those last stitches. But the first thing you're going to do for this pattern is you're going to do a yarn over on your needle. You're going to use your other stitch here to go in, do that garter stitch ridge, grab in, and knit it through the back loop. Oh, make sure I'm in my focus. Sorry about that. So you grab it with that needle, knit through the back loop. Okay, so I have a yarn over and a new stitch. And then I do another yarn over, and now I'm going to go through right here, and I'm going to knit that through the back loop. Another yarn over, and then the last one I'm going to turn it like this. I'm going to use the garter stitch ridge right there, like that. Knit that through the back loop, and then you're going to do one more yarn over, and then you're going to look at the pins here. See that how you have your pins on this coilless pin? Those 3 stitches you're going to put on your needle, and then you're going to knit those through the back loop. Those 3 stitches there. One, 2, 3, and there you go. That's the start. That's your garter stitch tab cast on. You can see how it's just made like a small piece of fabric, very tight. Okay, I always show this, but I wanted to show this a little bit earlier than what I'm usually show. This is the start of the second Time Hill Shawl, Romi Hill Mystery Knit Along. I always say I start with 3 stitches. I did. Do you see the pin? You see those 3 stitches? 1, 2, 3 in that pin. Those are the 3 stitches I started with. And you can see how this is growing. Now, what's going to happen here, this is a garter stitch tab cast on. These 3 stitches are going to be the edge, one edge. These 3 stitches are going to be the other edge. And you can kind of see it starting to take place. If you look right along those 3 stitches, there's a path of garter stitch ridging. Sorry. You see a ridge there, you can see a ridge there, you can see a ridge there, and you can see a ridge there. So the garter stitch edging is already started. that's going to continue to grow as you make your shawl. What will be the rest of your shawl will be these stitches in the middle, these 3, 6, 7 stitches in the middle. That's what will start to become the rest of the shawl. But it will become like this, where your garter stitch edging goes along. Like, see, that's where I started there, and you can see how the garter stitch just grows along the edge, and it looks seamless. It becomes more seamless in your knitting, and you can't really tell where you started, which is actually, I started with those 3 stitches right there. So that's what it ends up looking like. Sorry, this is a little close. I'm just trying to just show the edging there. And that's the beauty of a garter stitch tab cast on. Okay, so now we're going to watch a short video clip that I did. I released this actually over the weekend, but this is the knit 3 together stitch and the SK3 stitch. Now the SK3 stitch is a variation of the slip slip knit. It's actually where you just slip 3 stitches and knit the 3 stitches together through the back loop instead of doing 2. And it creates, as you remember on that the shawl, it has those lines that you have for the petals. That's where you're doing the slip slip knits and the knit 2 togethers and the knit 3 togethers to create that line that makes the flower edges. So anyway, I'm going to share that. I'm going to show you guys a new stitch. This is called the 3SK. This is a left leaning double decrease stitch. This is a brand new stitch to me. It is a mirror image stitch of a knit 3 together, and I'm going to show you that too. But this is called a 3SK. What you do is it's going to involve the next 3 stitches on your left needle. You're going to slip the first stitch knitwise, second stitch knitwise, third stitch knitwise. Then you're going to put them all back on your left needle and knit them all together through the back loop. So your 3 stitches become 1, and it's a left leaning decrease, and it looks like that. So it's the opposite of a knit 3 together, which give me one, I need to knit the stitch, and then this next stitch is a knit 3 together, and then knit 3 together again involves the next 3 stitches on your left hand needle, except it's going to be a right leaning decrease. It's going to take 3 stitches into 1, so you insert your right hand needle into the next 3 stitches, and you knit them all together like you would a knit 2 together. So you just wrap your yarn, wrap your yarn around your needle and knit them all three stitches together, and it looks like that. That's the knit 3 together. That's the 3SK, and then that's the knit 3 together. And those are 2 new stitches in the Romi Hill 2022 Mr. Knit Along Time Heels. Thank you so much for watching all of this video. If you're at this point, thank you for spending time with me. I really do appreciate it, and appreciate each one of you being here. I hope you have enjoyed this. Again, if you're going to start knitting this with me, I would love for you to send me your work and let me share it. But otherwise, thank you for watching these and supporting me. I hope you're all doing very well. Let me know what you're working on down in the comments below. If you are not working on Romi Hill, what are you working on? And just let me know how you're doing. And otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves, and I hope to see you all very, very soon. Bye-bye.